Good morning everyone. My name is Lalit Soni and I welcome you all in this live session of Drishti IAS. Today we will be discussing about Indian Express newspaper and we'll start with the front page and then we'll go to few important articles from your exam perspective. When we are talking about today's newspaper, most of the articles are mostly political, so we won't go and waste our time on the political news, but we'll focus on all the explained section which are important for our examination. Okay, other than that we'll take some few miscellaneous articles. Okay. So let's start with the today's paper. We'll start with the front page, but we'll see that there is not much news to talk about on the front page. Okay. After that, we'll be moving towards this postcard of hope. That is Ranish Kala. There is this village in Punjab. You can say at Moga district. So it is some kind of you can say a model which every panchayat or a village can adopt to. Okay. This model is talking about mostly self-sustained thing and cleaner environment. They are putting some effort and they are not dependent on the government, but they are doing it by their community self also. Okay, so we'll be discussing about this. There is this section in the Indian Express, that postcard of hope. These section can be important for your, you can say, ethics preparation. Okay, many good example you can extract from this particular section. Okay, we'll discuss this article and then we'll talk about electoral bond case. You know that these are electoral bonds are kind of instruments which are used for the political parties funding. In the time of election, we know that there is a lot of amount of money which is used in the promotions, etc. So that money from where these political parties are raising that money. Okay, we'll talk about that and we will see that what is the particular concern with this particular instrument and why this case has been filed, and now today Supreme Court will be hearing this case. Okay, results will be tackling in the further classes, but today we'll only focus on the concerns. Okay, then Himalayas losing glacial ice. So you know that UN chief has visited Nepal, and in that visit he has kind of focused on this particular issue, that the most of the glacial ice in the Nepal has been losing because of the global warming. Okay, we'll talk about that. Then prisoners dilemma. Our defense minister has talked about this particular thing in that Goa summit. Okay, so from there we have extracted this word prisoners dilemma. We'll be talking about that. This is basically related to your IR studies, international relations studies. Okay, then we'll talk about few world affairs, then miscellaneous news, and we'll wrap up the session. Okay, today we'll not take editorial because the editorials today, the columns we have already discussed is mostly about Israel Palestine. Okay, and then there is one from SEBI which is data loaded, so I have chose not to take that, but we will be taking one editorial in the editorial analysis section as usual, so you can watch that. The link is in your description. Okay, so we'll start with the front page of the newspaper. So this is the front page of your newspaper. Delhi excise policy case. So this ED summons, etc. You know that the year before elections these things will always happen. So anyway, Delhi always has this tussle with the central government, or you can say lieutenant governor. So we'll not go in the political details of this case. Okay, after that, if you want to do that, you have to go through these organizations like ED, CBI. These organizations are important from your exam point of view, and you have to know that which law governs that, and which is the body which is from where they derive the authority. Okay, then we'll be talking about this Maratha quota state. There are some violent issues going on in the Maratha related to the Marathas reservation. Okay, that is also political news. We'll not go into that. Will do all to secure release. Jaishankar assure kings of the 8 on that Qatar that sentence which we have talked about in the previous classes. So now our side are trying to make sure that these people do not get the basically Qatar do not go ahead with the death sentence. So we are talking about that. Then this is the basic idea of your front page, but there is not much to discuss. So in this news you can say the death sentence is a major diplomatic challenge for New Delhi, complicated by the Qatar's role in the Israel-Hamas conflict. As I told you that in particular Israel-Hamas conflict, Qatar is playing an important role to release the hostages. Okay, this particular country is maintaining these talks with the Hamas leaders, then you can say Palestinian authorities, and then even with the Taliban. Okay, so they are talking with each other so that these Israeli hostages can be rescued. Okay, so that is why Qatar is playing an important role. So Qatar right now has a leverage because international community will not do anything to upset this country right now. Okay, not even USA or not Israel. So that is one thing which makes the issue complicated for us. Then the first step is to get the court order and frame the legal challenges. Now if we want to go ahead with the challenging the order, we have to know that what are the legal challenges. We have to see the order, because the fact is, the fact of the case, the charges of the case are not being made public, because of which we have to get the court order and then frame our legal issues. Okay, all time consuming, adding to the weight for the families. This process is kind of time taking, because we have to notice all the key details, etc. Okay, even the families of the people, that 8 Navy personnel has called for the intervention of Prime Minister himself. Okay, so after that, this statement has came from Mr. Jaishankar, that they fully share the concern and pain of the families, and they are trying their best to get them back. Now this particular article I was talking about, this postcard of hope, this is the series. Okay, so in this article, this particular village named Ranish Kalam, okay, it's a small village in Moga district. So basically what they are doing is, they are adopting environmental friendly activities. Okay, so they are doing it on their own, even if government is providing fund. When there is a lack of fund, they are doing it on their own. Okay, they have set up a very smart model. You can talk about that. Farms fire are again dominated in the discourse out of Punjab. So we know that in this particular time of September, October, November, there are issues of these farm fires which lead to pollution in the Delhi. Okay, so because of that, there are many government efforts to make sure these people do not burn this particular stubble, etc. Okay, but again, that is happening anyway, because lack of infrastructure, you can say. But in this particular village, they have been trying to do that. Okay, so they have given this particular you can say incentive of 500 rupees for those who are not burning it. Other than that, they have set up a community driven system which can use the farm waste, okay, for other activities. So that is being done by panchayat. Okay, they have pooled the amount of money, build the machinery, and now that is done by the panchayat, and every person who does not have resources or the machinery can come to panchayat and do it for free. Okay, so that is very good step, where because of the lack of infrastructure to every farmer, they have made a community based system wherein every farmer who does not have that particular machinery can come there and get the service for free. Okay, so that is one thing. Then in this particular village, when we are talking about, they are trying to make the village environmentally sustainable. We know that environmental and the climate challenges are real things. We have to do something to mitigate that, and this community has basically this particular village has understood that, and they are doing it for their own. Okay, they have find ways to reuse sewage water for irrigation. The waste water, the sewage water they are using for irrigation after treatment, they have come up with the creative solution for the plastic waste management. Okay, and they have ensured health insurance, access to health insurance. They have ensured that they will provide the health insurance to all those who does not have it in this particular village. So now you can think, even the urban areas which lacks health insurance, these people from a small village are talking about it, and in fact they are doing it. Okay, then rupees 500 per acre of their land if they refrain from burning the stubble. If they are not burning the waste, they are giving 500 rupees. Crop residue management mechanics or machines, they are provided them free of cost with the limited resources. Those farmers who does not have this machinery, they are getting the services free of cost. Okay, not a single farmer resorted to stubble burning in the last year. This is the record breaking thing, that because since even though farmers having no machinery, there are instances like that. Since last year, no farmer has burned any kind of stubble here. Okay, they have been given various prizes. You can say Nanaji Deshmukh Rashtriya Gaurav Gram Sabha Puruskar for their impeccable work in the Gram Sabha. Okay, and then there is this Deen Dayal Upadhyay Panchayat Sashактikaran Puruskar. Sorry, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Panchayat Sashактikaran Puruskar. Okay, for delivering services in public goods, innovative revenue generation methods, and other makers. So here you can say they are doing this by their own, and even we don't have to wait for the funds from the governor. Our village comes together with contribution from the resident and support from the NRIs. Okay, to initiate the project. When the government supplements these efforts, the additional funds comes and it accelerates the process. So basically they are not dependent on the government funds, they are doing it on their own by their community management. Okay, so it becomes a source of inspiration for all the aspiring villages, districts, etc. Okay, they are doing this saving water related things, that they have done this community related ponds where they can do this rain water harvesting. Okay, other than that, they are using the treated sewage water for irrigation fields. They are not using any kind of additional fertilizer, because obviously these sewage waters are already having excess of nutrition. So after treating that, they have limited the amount of nutrition which they require for their water. Okay, for their crops. And after that, you can say they have decreased the use of urea in the fields because of this particular thing, that this water is already nutrient rich. Okay, collect condensation from air conditioner and excess water from RO system. Whatever water which is being wasted in the urban areas, you can say most of the air conditioner in the urban areas, or the RO water, purifier water, they have a lot of water to lose, and it generates a lot of wastewater which is not being used by the people here. Okay, but they have made a system that they have given a bucket of around 20 liters to every person, and they are collecting this water and they are using it again. So that is very thoughtful to do. Managing plastic waste, they are doing this with plastic waste management also. See, all these things are kind of government schemes which are going on, and but the thing is, these are not you can say having a trickle down effect to the villages areas. But the thing is, they are doing it on their own. Okay, and they will be setting a waste management unit, plastic waste management unit worth 16 lakh rupees in some time. Okay, so this is particularly you can say that it is a very good model, or you can say it can be a model village when we are talking about environmental sustainability. When we are saying that there are lack of resources, there are lack of awareness, only thing you have to do is you have to make people aware about it, and community can come together and do it on their own. Only government cannot sponsor everything. Government has a shortage of fund, but people don't. People have money, people can use these techniques to get out of this crisis like situations. Okay, you know that Punjab is having a lowest groundwater table right now, because of which there is a problem of there is the water crisis. But the practices like this will ensure that they can mitigate it soon. But the problem is that is only been used in only one village, that is Rashian Kalan. Okay, then they are using this plastic waste to do other things, like you can water pipes, chairs, stools, etc. They are making it with the plastic waste. Okay, so all these things you can go through, and you can use it in your ethics exams. Okay, other than that, they are also providing a health insurance to poor families, a nominal fee of ₹1. They are taking only premium of ₹1 and giving a cover of 1 lakh rupees. They are having a widow pension scheme. Okay, there are drives for the plantation of 100 basically 1000 fruits plants. They have done these plantation drives, etc. So all these efforts are not given by the government, they are community driven efforts. Okay, which can be done by any community if they are aware enough. Okay, so that is about this particular article. So you can see how it is a postcard of hope, and you can use this article in your ethics and mains answer writing exams. So much of data you can use, so much of examples you can use for your in your suggestions, you can use that. Then issues in electoral bond case. Okay, so first we will see what electoral bonds are. Before that, I will tell you that the scheme notified by the central government in 2018. Okay, these electoral bonds actually had an aim so that the political funding can be transparent, and the use of cash in the this particular political funding, which is basically black money, can be restricted, and now it can be a transparent and accountable system. Okay, the instrument through which anyone in the country can donate money to political party anonymously. So here the donor is anonymous. Okay, so political party will not know who gave the money. Okay, this data of this donor will be with the banks, because these transactions are KYC based. Okay, so that is one thing. The concern here is that data is with the bank which is owned by government. So there can be a chance of misuse, that government can utilize this data. Okay, other than that, the fact you can say it is said that the data, or you can say the number says that 90% of the funds in the previous elections, etc., are given to the major parties only. Okay, so when we are talking about major parties, so what will happen to the individual leaders which are which are contesting the elections? Other than that, all those small parties, how can they will get the fund? Okay, so that these are the concerns we will be talking about. A judge Supreme Court bench led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud to hear the petition challenging the constitutional validity of the electoral bond scheme. This particular thing will happen today, and we'll look for the judgment. Then electoral bonds introduced in 2018. These are interest-free bearer instruments. Okay, a person holding it will give it to the beneficiary, and beneficiary can encash the things within 15 days. Okay, for anonymous donations, as I told you, the donor will be anonymous, and these political parties will be the beneficiaries. Denomination ranging from rupees 1000 to 1 crore. Okay, so it will be like 1000, then 10,000, then lakh. Okay, so like that. Purchase through a authorized SBI branch with KYC norms, know your customer norms. Basically, this data will be with the banks. Okay, after that, there are windows of purchasing. These particular bonds you can purchase in 4 months, and 10 days window will be given in the month of January, then April, July and October. Okay, so how to remember these particular months? You can say start with the January, skip 2 months, and then the third month, skip 2 months, then the third month. Okay, okay. Must be encashed by the beneficiary within the 15 days. You have to encash the bond within 15 days. Eligibility is registered party, a registered political party under your Representation of People Act section 29A. Okay, other than that, 1% of the vote that party must secure in the last election. So this is the idea of electoral bond. Okay, other than that, here you can see why these electoral bonds are introduced, because to cleanse the system of the political funding. So whatever the black money was in the system, they have to get it out and then bring about the transparency in the electoral funding. You know that when we are talking about elections, a huge amount of money is used by the politicians in their promotions, their marketing, all these things. Okay, so all this money comes from donations only, because they do not have any kind of source of their own. Even if they have, but that is disproportional to the amount of money they use in the election or they utilize in the election marketing sector. So now the problem is from where they will get this particular money. So they basically get this money from their donors. Mostly there are the you can say the capitalist parties, etc. Okay, mostly businessmen are giving this kind of money. Now the problem is that can lead to a nexus. Okay, so that is why the identity of the donor should be anonymous. That is why they have taken this particular thing. But now there are concerned that data is with the government's authorized bank, and government, it is a government entity, and government can utilize it for their own good. Okay, that is just an allegation. So court will look into this and tell the judgment. Jaitley proposed the bond to correct this situation and brought the ceiling of anonymous cash donation down from 20,000 from 20,000 to 2,000. Earlier anonymous donation the ceiling was 20,000. Okay, in the multiples of 20,000 you can give any kind of money. Okay, and number of time a person can give this money. So they have brought this down to 2,000 rupees. Other than that, they have make sure that all the entities which are based in India, including the foreign MNCs which are registered in India, can provide money for that. So concern now is that the foreign FERA limitation was there, that a foreign company cannot give particular more than ceiling amount of the money. They have to give money within a limit of that particular act. But now that has been removed. Okay, so that is also one concern, that they can get money from foreign countries without any limitation. That can lead to interference in the domestic elections. Okay, who challenged this scheme? There are two NGOs, Common Cause and ADR. Most of the issues which are, if you are talking about the schemes etc., if they are in the court, mostly that is because of the let's say NGOs, and ADR and Common Cause are very active in that regard when we are talking about any kind of political reform or electoral reforms. Okay, so you can remember the name of these two NGOs also. They sought a stay on the scheme on the ground that it has been bought illegally as a money bill. Okay, So basically, when this scheme was brought to the parliament, or the bill was brought to the parliament, they have the chairperson, speaker of the Lok Sabha has tagged it as a money bill. Okay. So now when it is a money bill, the Rajya Sabha has limited power. So to bypass the Rajya Sabha's power, they had called it as a money bill. Okay. So that is one concern. And after that, they are saying that this scheme is non-transparent, open doors of limited political donations even from the foreign companies. Okay. So now unlimited foreign donations can come even from the foreign companies. So that is the concern in this particular case. So that can lead to a corruption on the massive scale. Okay. So now what is the position of ECI and RBI will check. Okay. Mostly they are saying that they have expressed the doubt that the electoral bond can misused by the shell companies. Now we are saying that any registered company in India can basically buy this bonds, and beneficiary can encash that. Now this problem of shell companies comes. Shell companies are companies only on the paper. Okay. So if this company, if let's say some person holding some kind of black money, and he is entering into system through the shell company, this shell company can actually buy this particular bonds. Okay. So now that is the problem, wherein this shell company does not exist. This third person from, let's say, foreign land transferring money to this shell company, and shell company is buying the electoral bonds. So that can be a problem. Until there is a scrutiny, we will not catch this particular fraud. Okay. So that is one problem. And then the bond would not be available to individual candidate and the new political parties. As I told you that it is only for the registered political parties and those political parties which has got more than 1% of vote in the last election. So now what will happen to the individual candidate, from where they will get the money, and then new political parties cannot be able to access this particular scheme. Okay. So there is a inconsistency between IT Act and the Representation of the People Act. These two acts provide for the different ceiling. As I told you that they have decreased the ceiling from 20,000 to 2,000. Okay. But these two acts having, one is having 20,000, one is having 2,000. So which would be the final authority to say? That is the concern, one of the concern by the Election Commission. Okay. Parties should be required to give ECI denomination wise details of the bond received by them. So in that one particular judgment, it was said that the parties or the political parties, they have to give all the details to ECI. Whatever donations they are getting in this particular denominations, they have to give that details to ECI. Okay. So unchecked foreign funding of the political parties, we have discussed this issue as well. And when we are talking about RBI is saying that there is a possibility of misuse, and more particularly through use of shell companies. So we have discussed that. And then it should be sold in the digital form rather than the physical form. They are saying that if you are going for the physical form, there are chances that this related to data. Okay, so you can go for the digital form. Okay. Now problem with digital form is that there is also a breach of, there is chances of breach of data. There are leaks related, data related leaks are happening. Okay, cyber crime, etc. Other than that, if you are creating a transaction with data, you are generating a record of it. Okay, when there is a record, there are chances you can access the record. Okay, now that is the thing which they are saying that you can, government is saying that we cannot go for the digital form. Okay, if there is a cyber hit or something strike, because of which that data can come into wrong hands. So that is one concern. Okay, and that can happen with the SBI authorized KYC norms as well. Okay, so that is concern from the both sides. Then we have discussed this demat issue as well. Okay, so that is about these two things. And now we will discuss what this particular case is talking about. This case. So earlier that it was with the 2-judge bench, then 3-judge bench. Now CGI has created a 5-judge bench for listening these issues, because Article 145 Clause 3. You can remember this article. They can ask this. Article 145 talk about if there is any substantial question of law. Okay, substantial question of law as to the interpretation of Constitution. Okay, such things can be decided by a minimum 5-judge bench. Okay. So that is the Article 145. So in this particular thing, they will be hearing about the constitutionality of the electoral bond scheme, as they have said that they have passed it by wrong means and tagged it as a money bill. Okay, and so that they can bypass scrutiny by the Rajya Sabha. So that is one concern court will be looking at. Other than that, there are demands that all political parties should be declared as a public entity and they should be bring under the purview of RTI Act, okay, Right to Information Act. So these two things they are talking about in this particular case. Other than that, they are also saying that they should compel the political party to disclose their income and expenditures. So there are three things. One, constitutionality of the particular scheme. Then all the political parties should be bring under the RTI Act. And third is they should be compelled to give their income and expenses, okay, to the ECI. So that is about the electoral bond issue. We have discussed it in length. We'll be waiting for the judgment. When it will come, we will discuss it again. Okay. Moving forward. So there is this case of Raghav Chadha. He has been actually suspended for indefinite time. So our CGI is saying that if you are keeping a member out of the legislature for an indefinite period of time, that have consequences, because that person has a constituency which he represents. Okay, so he has right to talk for or you can say he has the right to represent that constituency. So if you are keeping him out of it, that is not right. It is a serious matter. So he is a representative of his constituency. He is representative of a viewpoint which may not be consistent with the views of the government. So he is saying that if there is some kind of clash with the government's ideology and the legislature's ideology, you cannot restrict him outside the legislature for a longer time. Must be very careful about the excluding those voices from the parliament. Parliament must have voices from across the spectrum, and when it is from the opposition, that must be respected, okay, in a parliamentary democracy. So indefinite suspension is a call of concern. Question of putting in place guidelines for the exercise of the power of privilege of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha will have to be settled finally. So now this question of privilege, when we are talking about privileges powers, we don't have defined privilege powers. We have the conventions because of which we are using these privileges. Okay, so I guess Article 105 talks about these privileges. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So these privileges are basically on the discretion of you can say the chairperson or speaker. So now the thing is you have to finalize the contour of these particular privileges, because when these are not defined, you can use it discriminately and that can lead to misuse. Okay, so now they are talking about it that we should finally define all these privileges. Okay, we are right now we are only using some kind of convention and the tradition which has been following after British rule. So that is about the privileges. Okay, there is not much to discuss. You can just go and check what are the privileges, what is the authority from which we are deriving it. Okay, and you can search for the article as well. Okay, moving forward. Nepal's mountain lose 1/3 of its ice potential impact. So now the thing is, global warming is a real phenomena, we cannot deny it, and because of which there is a lot of glacial water which is glacial ice which is basically being melting. Okay, so in the visit by the UN chief in the Nepal, he has kind of focused on this particular concern. Nepal's snow-capped mountains have lost their 1/3 of the ice in 30 years. You can say 1/3 of the ice in last 30 years. Now why we are talking about Nepal? Because they are talking about Himalayas, okay, and we also share Himalayas, and Himalayas has a particular ecology and Himalaya has a particular significance. Okay, because of which if something happened to Himalayas or something some drastic extreme events happen there, that can cause concern for whole subcontinent. Okay, even you can say for the world. So they are talking about this Mount Everest, and they are saying that the glaciers are being melting at a faster rate. Okay, overall when we are talking about the world, there is this global warming, there is ice cap melting, etc. But when we are talking about Southeast Asia, it is at the more faster pace. Okay, so that is basically काफी concerning. The Earth's temperature increased on around 0.74 degrees Celsius over last 100 years. Okay, but the warming across South Asia's Himalaya has been greater than the global averages. So when we are talking about 0.74 globally, our temperature is risen by more than this particular data. Okay, So now the concern is we are talking about to limit the data transfer, uh, change in this temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, and we are saying that this much already has happened around the world. So this is quite concerning for us. Two major carbon polluter countries like India and China, because of the population obviously and the industrial growth which has happened later in the century. So because of which India and China are the major pollutants, polluter in this particular region. And now this country is sandwiched between these two countries, and Himalayas are getting the worst effect out of it. Okay. Then calling for an end to the fossil fuel age. Okay, obviously we know that this global warming has a major reason, that is the use of fossil fuel. Okay, so now they are saying that you should stop using fossil fuel. That can result into swollen lakes. Swollen lakes, as I told you that there was this glacial lake outburst I have talked about. So because of which there are some kind of lakes which are being building. These glacial lakes ultimately cannot hold this hydrological pressure by the water, and they lead to an outburst, because of which there can be a flood in the lower riparian areas. Okay, so all the countries or the entire communities which are living in that particular zone are at the risk. Okay, glaciers in Hindu Kush Himalayas has could lose up to 75% of their volume by the end of the century. So this is quite concerning, because Hindu Kush Himalayas is basically the glaciers which are having a different pace of impact on the climate change. Okay, because ultimately, as we are told, that world over, if the growth speed is at the some average pace, South Asia is witnessing at a faster pace. Okay, so that is one thing. Danger of flooding and water shortage, because all this fresh water of these glacial lakes will ultimately go to into the sea, and because of which there can be a shortage of water. Record temperature means record glacial melt. Okay, we have talked about it, and that's why the chief has urged countries to limit global temperature to rise 1.5 degrees Celsius to avert the estimates of the climate change. Okay, so now ultimately the crux of the situation is that Himalayas are melting at the fast rate. Okay, the glacial lakes which are being swollen can basically lead into the flooding like situations, and ultimately when this glacial fresh water reduces and go into the seas because of the river course, etc., ultimately we will have a shortage of drinking water, and there is a temperature rise which has already happened across the world by 0.74 degrees Celsius, and now we are making effort to restrict it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Okay, which is quite an aspirational target considering today's energy requirements, etc. Okay, so that is about this Nepal's case. Then might is right has no place in the free and open maritime order. So when we are talking about this Indian Ocean, okay, so here we know that there is a sway of China is increasing, and we want to restrict that. Okay, so now there was this particular summit. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh visits the Make in India exhibition at Goa Maritime Conclave. Okay, so at this particular conclave, he has said that might is right. If you have power, you can do anything. That is not the case in the order where we are talking about free and open maritime borders. Okay, so what you have to do is what you have to cooperate with everyone, and then you can check the rise of China. When we are talking about China, China has this expansionist tendency in South China Sea. Even when we are talking about China's policies in the Indian Ocean, you know that there is a string of pearls. Okay, and then when we are talking about South China Sea, there is cow's tongue. Okay, so all these things are basically talking about the aspirations of China, or you can say expansionist policy of China in the maritime or seas, international seas. Okay, so now here they have said that that is not the case, and all the countries which are affected, they should come together and talk about it, and they should follow the UN clause laws. So, okay, so there are these laws which are governing the issues in the seas. United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas. Okay, every country should make any action on the basis of this law. And when we are talking about China, China is not respecting these laws. When there was this case with the Philippines, UN clause has given the judgment in the favor of Philippines, but China did not consider that. Okay, so basically China does not follow such things. They are only using international law for their own advantage. Okay, so that is concerning for us. So that is being talked about in this particular article. There is not much to talk, and only thing you have to remember that there was this Goa Maritime Conclave where Defense Minister has said that, and in that particular conclave he has mentioned this particular issue as prisoner's dilemma. Okay, when we are talking about prisoner's dilemma, it is a term of international relations or studies of international relations when there is a game theory. So when we are talking about this game theory, you don't have to go into details of the game theory, but you already all you have to know is there are few theories in which there are certain games and which basically gives an idea about particular situations. Okay, in which situation a person should do what. Okay, and that basically they are talking about in the terms of IR. In the situation when there are two countries, what kind of relations will they have? Okay, so there are different situations. On the basis of that, there are the different you can say prospectus what they are supposed to do. Out of that, there is one more thing, that is prisoner's dilemma. They basically talk about insecurity. When two countries are there, so they are kind of insecure about each other, because of which what they do is that, let's say there are two neighboring countries, let's say India and China. So India and China does not have a defined border, because of which there is this border issue, and both the countries have this thing that other country will attack. Mostly China does not have that fear because India will not go for war. Okay, we have this non-violence tendencies, etc. We don't go for war by itself, but if someone comes at us, we will retaliate heavily. But now when we are talking about this in case of China, so we have this particular thing that China might aggress inside India. Okay, because of which we try to keep ourselves ready. Okay, so in case of, let's say, Pakistan and India, there was this chance that Pakistan will get a nuclear weapon, so India should do it before that, because we cannot lose the Pakistan's leverage. Okay, so that is why there is insecurity on which these games are being played. So prisoner's dilemma is one such game wherein two persons, let's say A and B, they have committed a crime. Okay, and now they are put under two different cells by police person. Police knows that we don't have any kind of concrete evidence against them. We just have circumstantial evidences. So on the basis of that particular evidence, what we have, we cannot make sure that they will get the enough imprisonment. Let's say they will get 1 year of imprisonment for a crime that's supposed to give 15 years of imprisonment. Okay, so now what police does is they put them into two different cells and tell them your partner has confessed. Okay, so now both of them, the right thing to do is that they should stay silent. The police saying that your partner has confessed, you can give an evidence in our favor, you can become a government witness, and you can get a letter sentence. So in that case, the right thing for both the partners to do is that they can stay silent, and then let police do the job. In that case, they can only get a imprisonment of 1 year because police doesn't have any evidence. But because of the insecurity, these two persons don't know what is been happening in the other cell. There are chances that person might have actually confessed the case. If he has confessed the case, then there is chances that they will get a sentence of 15 years. So in that case, what happens is they kind of confess, okay, and police get the evidence. So that is police playing on their insecurity. Or when we are talking about nations, let's say India and Pakistan and India, Pakistan has this insecurity that India is growing at faster rate, and India having this problem that Pakistan is giving us 1,000 cuts, because of which what these two countries are doing is that Pakistan is putting expenditure on the defense, a lot of expenditure. They don't have to eat, but they are buying guns. So that is because of this particular insecurity. Okay, and India is also some kind have to be prepared. Because of that, countries might go for that arms races. Okay, so insecurity can lead to arm race, in between these two countries. Okay, so that is the concern here. So that is basically about prisoner's dilemma, and Rajnath Singh is saying that this particular prisoner's dilemma can lead to arms races. Okay, so what we can do is that we can cooperate with each other. Okay, we can increase the level of trust so that we should not go for these arm races. Okay, so best way possible out of a conflict is to talk, to make each other feel assured, and to make a trust or cooperation, etc. So that is about the prisoner's dilemma. So moving ahead, Middle East must consider two-state solution after the war. Biden says that whatever war is going on, once it is over, the countries like whatever countries are involved, stakeholders, Israel, and then the members of Palestinian Authority, okay, then Arab nations, all these nations should kind of go for the two-state solution. Okay, that two-state solution is basically nothing but creation of Palestinian, giving them the recognition they are seeking. Okay, and then only this particular issue can end. Otherwise, they will keep fighting, and the war-like situation in the Middle East will never end. So that is basically from the president of USA. He is saying that after war we have to find a concrete solution to this particular situation, and solution is basically two-state solution, which is being mooted by the UN long back. Okay, so I guess that would be all for today's newspaper. We'll finish and we'll wrap up the session here. I'll see you in the next session. Till then, have a good day. Thank you.